Welcome to the Kingsford Flivver Flash. I'm Coach Van Dusen. This is Season 20, Episode 22, a Flivver Flashback. Sit down with 2000 graduate Sam Sorensen. Welcome back to the Kingsford Flivver Flash. If this is your first time listening, we ask that you go and subscribe on your favorite podcasting app, or if you're watching on YouTube, hit that subscription button and ring that notification bell so you always know when a new episode drops. Today's another kind of a special day for me personally. We get to sit down and talk with 2000 graduate Sam Sorensen. Sam, much like John Jessen, was one of my classmates and one of my teammates, and he is currently working for the Michigan Department of Transportation down in Jackson, Michigan, as the Transportation Service Center construction engineer. And he lives down there with his wife and his two children, and we're glad to have him on the Kingsford Flivver Flash. All right, Sam, thanks for coming on tonight.
Thanks for having me, John.
Oh, this is really great. We got to talk with John Jessen a couple weeks ago, and now with my buddy Sam Sorensen, another KHS graduate, class of 2000. We were supposed to have a reunion this summer, but it got canceled due to the coronavirus. And I know you said you were kind of planning on coming up. So maybe next time, maybe next year.
Yeah, it's I miss being up there. It's been over a year since my wife and I have come up there to see my parents and my sister, who happens to be a teacher at Kingsford, Mrs. Tregellis, and other family members up there.
Yeah, and I teach with your sister. I see her every single day. So tell us a little bit about growing up in Kingsford. You grew up here, went to school here. Just tell us kind of what that was like growing up.
So I lived in Kingsford my whole life as a kid. Always, my first school I went to, it was Westwood. Back then there was a different elementary schools. They rolled up to the junior high school at the time, that's where Flivver Field is now. So I was at Westwood for a few years, and then in the second time I took second grade, which I always joke about, the second time I took second grade was the year Woodland opened up.
Oh, wow.
And a lot of fond memories. My grandfather actually was the crossing guard for Woodland for many, many years, right by the public safety there. And whenever I missed the bus, I'd walk down there and get a ride home. But I think one of the things that I always remember about my childhood was how great the football team was. They were always in the hunt for the state championship. And I think that's what got me really excited to be a Kingsford Flivver at that time.
And you see that now with the kids down at Woodland. They're all jazzed up. They're wearing their Flivver maize and blue, especially on game days. And sometimes for like homecoming, the football team still goes down to Woodland, and they have an assembly, and the band is there. And it's just, it's really not just a Kingsford High School thing, but it's really a Kingsford Schools thing. And it's you can expand that out even to the community. Not unlike other small towns, but maybe just a little more special because it's ours.
Yeah. I mean, I remember being at Woodland and the cheerleaders coming and teaching us the fight song.
Yeah. Yep.
And, I'm sure they still do that today, but that's where the school spirit started. And I hope that they keep doing that, and it gives you pride in the community.
It does. And, with Coach Navarro right now, we have 3 wins. It's win in the classroom, win in the community, and then win on the field. And that's one of those community wins, going down and seeing those younger kids, because they're just so excited. They see the players out on the field, and now they're right there in their face, and they're giving them a high five, and they're painting their faces. And it's just a really great experience, not just for the players to learn how to give back, but also for the younger kids. So tell us what happened after high school, where you went and what you're doing now.
So, getting ready to graduate high school, I tossed around the idea. I know I talked to the Air Force, I talked to the Army. At the time I was really strongly considering that. And I decided that before pulling the trigger on one of those, I'd throw an application up to Michigan Tech and possibly NMU. And I remember thinking to myself, well, if Michigan Tech doesn't take me, I'm sure NMU will. And and I had two sisters go to NMU, so I always poke them a little bit about that, because that's a big rivalry, especially in football and hockey up there. And lo and behold, I got accepted to Michigan Tech as in the civil engineering program, and I couldn't be happier. Graduated from Michigan Tech in 2005, and I got a job with the Michigan Department of Transportation, and nothing makes me happier than being a public servant, trying to be good stewards of the taxpayers' money, and doing what we can to improve the roads and the infrastructure in Michigan. And started my career as basically a design engineer, designing roads, bridges, structures. That was my cup of tea. Transportation, roads was more in line with what I liked. And as I've evolved as an engineer, I've become the construction engineer down here at the Jackson Transportation Service Center. And so I'm in charge of all the construction projects. So whenever you see orange barrels and that on an interstate or a US road or an M route, I'm in charge of that project down here. And we're just finishing up $110 million reconstruct on I-94. And the amount of stuff that goes on with these jobs, I could never have imagined being a part of something like that, being a part of a team like that. And here I am kind of in charge of it. It's crazy.
That is really cool. Have you been in Jackson your whole career?
Yes. When I graduated in 2005, I remember, I think I graduated April 30th, 2005. April 29th, I got the call saying, hey, we want to hire you down in Jackson. And I remember thinking Jackson was up by Saginaw, because I hadn't been in the Lower Peninsula all that much as a kid.
Right.
I was a Youper, true blue Youper, through and through. And one of the few times I came downstate was I want to say it was in 96. And that's again, Iron Mountain and Kingsford were at the state championship. Unfortunately, we both lost. But that was one of the few times I came downstate in my life before 2005. So yeah, I didn't know where Jackson was, which happens to be 40 minutes south of Lansing, straight south. It's a great area. I'm happy here. I got two kids. I have my wife, and I don't see immediate future moving from the area, but I really do miss the UP.
Yeah, and mentioning going downstate, I didn't really go downstate much until after I joined the National Guard, and I would end up at Grayling, Lansing, Taylor. But other than that, if we want, city, we go south to Green Bay. Right. Appleton, Milwaukee, even Chicago is closer than, say, Lansing for us.
Yeah, and that, a lot of the folks down here, they go, why do you like the Packers?
Right.
I was like, well, I like winning, one. But that was it. It was like, we went school shopping in Green Bay. That was one of the best trips as a child. I remember jumping in the car with for the most part, two older sisters. My oldest one was out by that point, and school shopping in Green Bay with my family, because Kingsford Iron Mountain, we didn't have, Walmart. We had JCPenney and Shopko and Kmart. But if you went down to Green Bay, you had all the big stores and you could get better deals. And, it's just, and it's crazy to think about that now.
It is. And the world seemed much bigger because we couldn't Zoom call people just on a random Monday night, and you didn't have FaceTime or any of the technology.
Right.
I didn't even have a cell phone until I went up to college. So, and
Me neither.
None of us did, because that just wasn't really a thing. And now I see, fifth graders rolling around with iPhones. So
yeah, The only cell phone we had was my dad bought one to have for the snowmobile.
Oh, okay.
Just in case.
Emergency.
Yeah, we always snowmobiled when I was in as a kid until about junior year of high school, and that was the only reason we had a cell phone. And I remember, I bet you there was only like 200 minutes a month.
Right.
You know, it's just totally different time now.
Totally. So I do have a question about your job. You mentioned the orange barrels.
Yeah.
Where are those orange barrels when they're not out on the road?
There's a few big suppliers, and they have huge yards that they put these in. And these suppliers for the entire state, they bid out to the contractors that are doing the work, and they just stock them up, and they're becoming more prevalent. I've seen them a lot more, the yards, because so much work is going on now.
Sure. That
they need to have them ready to go. So they basically, rent them to the contractors to use.
So they're rented.
Yeah, there's the road contractors. Majority of them don't own these barrels. It's a subcontractor that they'll pay to bring them out there, and then a lot of times they'll actually pay them to come out and move them.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it is crazy.
The reason I ask is, we've all been stuck on that stretch of highway where it's miles and miles of barrels, and you're like, I just passed 10,000 orange barrels. Like, mm-hmm. Where are they when they're not slowing me down?
Yep. Yeah, they're in the storage yard.
So this is a Flivver Flashback. We're going to flash back, and I want to have you tell the folks about your favorite football memory.
I think I had a lot of nicknames in school. Andy Nault, I think he called me Mule because my full name's Samuel. He always called me Mule, but then he coined me Spin Cycle my sophomore year, and that was my glory year in football. I scored a touchdown, and if it wasn't for Andy, I wouldn't have gotten the touchdown because I believe it was the guard had a pole on the play. So I can't remember the name of the play at the time, but he had the pole, and he got tackled, and I bounced off a linebacker, ended up going into the end zone. So they called me Spin Cycle for spinning off of the tackle. And I think it was about an 18-yard touchdown, and I have to give a special thanks to, I think, Mr. Kleiman, because he left the starters in so I could get the touchdown.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So that was your sophomore year, you said, right?
Yeah, that was my sophomore year.
Okay. And then I know we were talking earlier, and you put on the email back and forth something funny. Actually involved me.
Yeah.
Fortunately or unfortunately, I think we both have a little bit different version of the story. But go ahead and tell us your favorite funny story from Kingsford football.
So, like we were talking previously, I was not first string. I was not second string. I think I was lucky to be third or fourth string on the football team. I was one of those players that helped the starters get ready for that coming week's game. So whenever I saw the field, it meant the game was going one way or the other. and I think this particular game we were doing pretty well. And I was playing. I think I was the right linebacker. And I don't know if we had. You must have been middle linebacker.
You were middle.
I was middle. Okay.
I was strong. Yep.
You were okay. And I couldn't even catch a cold that night. I was so off my game. I don't know what was going on, but I think we were in cover 2, which was a zone. So I just, again, being like third, fourth string, I was like, well, I think I got to go over here. So I'm just going to hang out over here. And apparently the quarterback on the other team thought I was on his team because he threw it right to me. And I caught it. And thankfully, the strong linebacker on my team didn't tackle me.
It was close.
And I remember taking off down the field, I was right along the sideline, our sideline. Everybody's cheering on, and one way or another, I don't know what happened, if I wasn't breathing or if I just was trying to enjoy the glory of the moment, but I put it in neutral, and I got tackled either by one of their linemen, which I will say Coach Hofer did point that out in our post-game huddle. He's like, their guard caught you, right? I was like, yeah, thanks. That's where the your angle, you want to make sure you take that angle away from the pursuer.
So two parts about that play, one good and one bad. The bad one's on me. I remember the ball's coming really close to me when the quarterback threw it. And I remember thinking, holy smokes, like, I don't know who's going to catch this, but they're right here. So I turned to make the tackle, and it's you. And in my brain, I'm like, he's not supposed to be standing next to me, but he caught it, so that's awesome. So I remember getting ahead of you for just a few yards, and I hit one kid, just like chipped him just enough, and I see you go tearing off the side. I'm like, that's it. He's got a touchdown. This is awesome. And I quit before the whistle. Something I, berate my players for now. And I remember just kind of jogging to that stop and seeing their offensive linemen just trucking, just. And, had I continued to play and run at least part of the way with you, I probably could have blocked that kid, or at least just gotten his way, and you would have had your pick six. So I feel like I should apologize for your lack of a pick six there. But he did not quit before the whistle.
No. And that was one, that says a lot though for that person, that guy, because regardless of the score on the scoreboard, he wasn't going to let us score again.
Right.
And thankfully I had a sister that worked at the newspaper, and I believe Bert Angeli actually put in the write-up, I'd gotten the interception and rumbled or something. He used some adjective or verb there that he hit the nail on the head. I wasn't moving very fast. For somebody,
I feel like you were moving fast for the first 25, 30 yards.
Yeah, and then either I started to breathe because I was holding my breath, or like I said, I wanted to enjoy the moment, but I didn't get to.
That was awesome. And it's interesting things like that. Like, I couldn't tell you, the score of any of the games that we played, but I can tell you things like that. And I remember Matt Guy, I remember he was at practice once, and he had these like leather work gloves.
Okay. And
he was playing tight end, and he ran a drag pass, and he laid out just like NFL style, laid out and caught this pass with these leather work gloves, and it's things like that. And, silly stuff that happens in the locker room. I know you and I had experienced some funny things in the locker room that we won't say on the show here, but it's those types of things that we remember most. And that's why I think high school football is so important. So along those lines, what advice, we've had people on, and you've said it yourself, you weren't a starter, you weren't a second string guy, but you were still very vital to the team. And that's something you wrote in your email response was, no matter how small the piece, it's absolutely vital to the entire machine, really. So what advice do you have for players, either the seniors who their season is on hold right now due to COVID, or maybe those freshmen who are just starting their football career and, maybe they're a little nervous about what's going on or don't know what to expect. What advice do you have for the future Flivvers going through and playing football?
I think, regardless of what position you are, whether it's on the football team or in life, you're key to the success of whatever team you're on. And if you can understand that and know that, whether it's you being a practice squad player and learning the other team's offense or defense so you can make your team better, your first team better, or just in life, and knowing that, again, whatever team you're a member of, you're going to make them better, period, if you go 110% at your role. And it took me a while to really understand. And, I don't think I understood it that much at the time. I knew I did it. I knew what I was doing, but I didn't understand and respect what I was doing. Before you came to Kingsford, I think when we were sophomores. Yeah. And the sophomore year, I think we had 35 or 40 kids on the team. The freshman year, I think every guy, except for like one or two in our class, played on the. I remember they ran out of uniforms because everybody wanted to be a Kingsford Flivver football player. And at that time, I think I was 7th string. I think that, and that was one where, Mr. Murdoch, Kevin Murdoch, that's where I learned about complacency. He gave us we got complacent in a game, and that speech sticks with me, and I hold that close to my chest, because let's face it, complacency, you can be complacent doing anything. And that was one of those life lessons that ultimately, let's face it, the majority of the people that are playing football in high school, you're learning life lessons, and that's what you're going to learn, and you're gonna move on. There's a very small select few that get to play in college, and even fewer that get to play for their professional lives. But learning the life lessons in high school as a football player, that's what it's all about.
That's great advice. And the complacency, having been to Iraq and Afghanistan both, that is a huge monster that in those environments can get you killed. On the football field, it loses you a game, or in the worst case, it gets somebody hurt. But you're right. And, in your job with so many moving parts and so many different people, and you're dealing with the, civilians driving through your construction sites, there's times when complacency can really be dangerous. So, that's a great lesson. So, anything else you'd like to end with?
Man, I don't think so. I hope that for the community that, Iron Mountain Kingsford can get back at it on the football field. That kind of hurt when that rivalry kind of fell by the wayside. Hopefully in the future, they'll be able to bring it back, because honestly, I have just as many good friends from the Iron Mountain side as I do from the Kingsford side. And, I really, truly hope that they can bring that back so they can keep those friendships and that rivalry going.
Yeah, that rivalry went away, and Negaunee Marquette, which had been like 127 years in a row. Yeah. I think Menominee Marinette game, I'm not sure they're playing that one anymore. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of those rivalries. And, as schools lose enrollment and they start falling down to 8-man, I think you're going to start see some of those rivalries will come back just in it'll look different, so yeah, we'll see. We got to get through 2020 first. And as slated, we're supposed to play football in the spring of 2021. So that'll be interesting to see what that all looks like. But next time you're in town, stop in. We'd love to see you in person.
Yeah, absolutely. I will.
So, all right. Hey, thanks for coming on, Sam.
Thanks, John.
And that was Kingsford High School class of 2000 graduate Sam Sorensen. And if you would like to know more, you can follow him on Twitter. All of his handles are down below in the show notes. And if you are watching on YouTube, we ask that you subscribe and hit that notification bell. If you're listening on your favorite podcasting app, go ahead and subscribe and share with your friends so other people can follow the Kingsford Flivver Flash. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube. We have a blog. We're out there. If you Google us, you'll find us. So until next time, this is Coach Van Dusen. Invest in tomorrow by owning today.